One last question.
Please.
And I can't believe I have to ask you this, but I do, because Donald Trump has been attacking Kamala Harris's racial identity.
He has not been, but ask your question.
Well, he questioned her racial identity. He said a number of years ago she happened to turn black. Her father is Jamaican. Do you believe Kamala Harris is black?
I believe that Kamala Harris is whatever she says she is, but I believe importantly that President Trump is right that she's a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing in front of one audience. She pretends to be something different in front of another audience. Look, Dana, she's not running a political campaign. She's running a movie. She only speaks to voters behind a teleprompter. Everything is scripted. She doesn't have her policy positions out there. She hasn't answered why she wanted to ban fracking, but now she doesn't. She wanted to fund police, but now she doesn't. She wanted to open the border, but now she doesn't. She should have to answer for why she presents a different set of policies to one audience and a different set of policies to another audience. And I think that's what President Trump is getting at. This is a fundamentally fake person. She's different depending on who she's in front of.
With respect, you
Please.
Changed your position on an important thing, which is Donald Trump.
Of course I did.
And so why are you not a chameleon?
Because, Dana, I've explained to the American people what's different. People change their minds when the facts change, they should, but if you want to be the people's vice president or president, you should have to stand before an interviewer and say, this is why I changed my mind. So to everybody who's seen that I criticized Donald Trump, since he asked the question, here are two things.
You didn't just criticize him, you said he could be America's Hitler.
Well, that's a criticism, and I didn't say that exactly, but set that to the side. What I said about Donald Trump and what I believed about Donald Trump, two things that really changed. First of all, I didn't think Donald Trump would be a good president. He was a great president. Wages were rising. The world was more peaceful. Remember, when Donald Trump was running for president the first time, they said he would start World War III. He brought more peace to the world than any president of my lifetime. The second thing, Dana, is I believed, and I'm ashamed of it, I believed a lot of the media lies about Donald Trump in 2016. I believe that he said things like, for example, the media said Donald Trump accused all Mexicans of being rapists and criminals. You actually look at what he said, he did not say that at all. And I think it's important when you see something, you change your mind, and that's all I've done. And my pitch to the American people would be, I imagine a lot of folks who are thinking about voting for Donald Trump in 2024, maybe they've bought in to the media lies about him. Think for yourself, look at what he actually said, and I think you'll find that he's, one, a very engaging guy, but two, was a very good president.
There aren't media lies. We play him and we let him speak for himself, and so people are getting exactly.
I'm not accusing you of lying,
no, I know,
Dana.
I know.
You know I like you, but
no,
the media
I know you're
lies
not.
from time to time
I know you're
about
not, but
Donald Trump.
people hear him for himself. Last question.
Please.
Are you going to debate Tim Walz?
Of course. I want to debate Tim Walz. I think it's important, and I think that it goes to a very fundamental difference between the Trump-Vance ticket and our opposition. We believe in talking to the media. We believe in answering questions. We believe in debating. I think it's really important. I mean, look, I'm asking the American people to make me their vice president. It's really important to stand before the American people to make that case, and I'm going to keep on doing it in whatever forum I get the opportunity. So
We look
thank
forward
you.
to it.
Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise, and today we got to talk about it, man. JD Vance showed up on CNN on the offense now and absolutely schools Dana Bash during an interview that aired on Sunday. That would be yesterday for those of you that are watching this video today. The media has been out there pushing this narrative that Trump's been questioning Kamala Harris's racial identity. That's all they've been focusing on. What Trump was actually doing, though, he was questioning her authenticity and how she constantly flip-flops on issues depending on who her audience is. And he's absolutely right. He is absolutely right. She is not a real person. She is extremely phony. And honestly, JD nailed it when he called Kamala a chameleon. She's out there speaking to voters, but only from behind a teleprompter. Everything she says is completely scripted. We don't even know if she has an original thought because they won't let her talk to the American people off the cuff.
We are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Complete phony. She's a complete phony. And to be honest with you, as far as that eliminating taxes on tips, if she wanted to do that, she could do it right now. Is she not the VP? Is she not a part of this administration? I mean, come on, man. This lady puts on a daggone Southern accent when she's doing events in the South. Other times, she talks all ghetto. I mean, roll eyes and neck jerks. You know, it's ridiculous, man. I mean, she's literally making a mockery out of this whole thing. And JD's completely right. He's been showing us over and over again why Trump picked him as his running mate. He's not just great in interviews, though. He's relentless in getting the message out there and facing the media head on. Unlike Kamala, who's been running from the press at every turn. Remember when Kamala landed in Air Force Two and JD Vance was right there, ready to confront her? And what did she do? She got up out of there quickly. She's running scared, and JD isn't letting anyone forget about it. He's making sure the media and the Harris campaign, they gotta know. He's making sure that they know she's dodging the tough questions. This is a brilliant strategy because it hits both at the media and Democrats where it hurts. As a Republican, you have to discredit the media and show that the Democrats have no real solutions. They have very few ideas, and the ones that they do have are either terrible or blatantly stolen from Trump. Take, for instance, Kamala's speech in Las Vegas, where she couldn't even come up with her own ideas and had to copy Trump's proposal to eliminate taxes on tips. Come on, man. It just shows how desperate and unoriginal the Harris campaign really is. It's called pandering, people, but you guys know this already because that's all she has is pandering. And to be honest with you, that's really all the Democratic Party has. That's all they have is pandering. They've been wanting to raise taxes ever since I can remember. But now, no taxes on tips. Really? If Kamala keeps stealing his ideas, she'll have no choice but to start offering no income or property tax. There's still 87,000 IRS agents looking through your Cash App, PayPals, and Venmos. These people are not serious about no tax on tips. Check out this video right here.
By the way, how many of you did really well with that $1.9 trillion tax cut that increased? Really good shape, right? Really changed your, well, you did. Well, that's good. I'm glad to see you're doing well already. And I'm good. But guess what? If you elect me, you're not going to have your taxes are going to be raised, not cut. If you benefit from that.
So you heard it right from the horse's mouth. If you elect them, your taxes are going up. But do you guys also remember when she was all about opening the borders and defunding the police? That was her stance when she was pandering to the radical left. She was loud and proud about those positions. Now she's trying to backpedal and distance herself from those same policies as if we've all been, or as if we all have short memories. She has no core principles, just whatever it takes to stay in power.
I just want to know from you, do you support defunding and removing police from American communities? And if not, why do you think there's such a hard time being differentiated right now between defunding and reforming police departments?
So, Megan, I think that a big part of this conversation really is about reimagining how we do public safety in America, which I support, which is this. We have confused the idea that to achieve safety, you put more cops on the street. Instead of understanding to achieve safe and healthy communities, you put more resources into the public education system of those communities, into affordable housing, into home ownership, into access to capital for small businesses, access to health care regardless of how much money people have. That's how you achieve safe and healthy communities. And so we really do need to understand and reimagine what and how we can actually make and help make communities safe. Because here's the bottom line. If you contrast, many communities which have a heavy presence of police to middle and upper middle class suburbs in America, you will not see that presence of police. But what you will see families who have an income that allows them to get through the end of the month. You will see good public schools. You will see people who have access to health care and can afford it. You will see people who have jobs. And so this has to be the conversation, which is how are we going to be smart in achieving what should be our collective goal, which is that all communities are safe, and knowing that safe communities are usually safe because they are healthy because of a number of things, including the economy, including education, including access to health care. And that's how I think about this. You know, in many cities in America, over 1/3 of their city budget goes to police. So we have to have this conversation. What are we doing? What about the money going to social services? What about the money going to helping people with job training? What about helping with the mental health issues that communities are being plagued with, for which we're putting no resources? And here's the other thing. When I talk to law enforcement, they know that they don't want to be, nor are they skilled to be the ones who are responding to someone with mental illness or substance abuse or the homeless population. But in many cities, that's what's happening, because we are not directing those resources, those public resources, to where they need to go, which is addressing mental health, homelessness, substance abuse, so that we don't have to have a police response because we are smarter.
Senator, I hear you loud and clear, and I don't think there's any rational American right now who doesn't think that we need to take a cold, hard look at reforming our police. But there was a video that went viral over the weekend of the mayor of Minneapolis being yelled at, saying, yes or no question, are you for defunding the police? So I'm going to ask the same question the protesters asked him. Are you for defunding the police?
How are you defining defund the police?
Well, I'm not for anything remotely for that, so I would ask the protesters the same thing. But I assume and again, this is something that is new to me, I assume it's removing police, and as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar said, bringing in a whole new way of governing and a law and order into a community. And my understanding, again, this is something that has just come into my understanding recently, is that you would not have police officers like this Minneapolis City Councilwoman said, that I would be a place of privilege if someone broke into my home and I wanted to call the police.
So, again, we need to reimagine how we are achieving public safety in America. And to have cities where 1/3 of their entire budget is going to policing, but yet there is a dire need in those same cities for mental health resources, for resources going into public schools, resources going into job training and job creation. Come on, we have to be honest about this, that there is actually not a consensus around this, because if there were, we would actually see smarter distribution of resources in our country.
Okay, so now let's take a look at who she chose as her running mate. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. During the same interview, JD Vance exposed Walz for lying about his military service, claiming he was in Iraq when he wasn't. Walz built his entire image on that lie. And now he's supposed to be Kamala's right-hand man. It's the same pattern, saying whatever it takes to appeal to the audience at hand.
And on the question of when he left the National Guard, he filed his election paperwork February 10th, 2005. That was a month before the National Guard even announced that it was possible that they would deploy to Iraq, and it ended up being 2 months. He retired 2 months before they actually got the paperwork.
But on CNN last night, Dana, one of the people who was actually in charge of him said they knew they were going to deploy to Iraq in February of 2004, fall of 2004. So he knew he was going to Iraq. He decided to quit, to retire, whatever word you want to use.
Retire.
Because he wanted to run for Congress. He lied about that. He said that when he decided to retire, he did not know that he was going to Iraq. That is another untruth, as even his senior military officer said. So again, I'm not criticizing the service. I'm criticizing the dishonesty. Dishonesty spoken in favor and for the purpose of political benefit. And I think that the most important thing here, Dana, is it goes to Kamala Harris's judgment. Tim Walz is ultimately going to be the vice president. Kamala Harris is in great health. I'm sure she's going to be president if she wins for 4 or maybe even 8 years. Why did Kamala Harris choose a person who has lied about their military service? I think that is a serious lapse in judgment. And I don't want to hear from a campaign spokesperson of Kamala Harris. I want to hear Kamala Harris herself address what I just said.
You know, I've seen a lot of statements from veterans, including those you served with, saying it's just untoward to be criticizing somebody who served for 24 years.
Dana, I'm not interested in the ad hominem. I've heard from a lot of veterans groups who criticize Tim Walz. The question is, he said he served in war, and he didn't. That is a dishonesty. I couldn't care less what one or the other person says about it. I care about what the truth is. The truth is that Tim Walz didn't tell the truth. And importantly, Dana, this is about Kamala Harris's judgment. And I think that when you ask, why has Kamala Harris allowed the border to be wide open? Why has Kamala Harris supported policies that have promoted the increase in inflation? I think it goes to the heart of her judgment, and I think that that's what we should be talking about.
One last question. Donald Trump didn't serve in the military. He received a medical draft deferment for bone spurs to avoid serving in the Vietnam War, reportedly as a favor to his father. Do you find that shameful, too?
I think that Donald Trump didn't serve in the military, but he didn't lie about it, Dana. I've known Donald Trump for a long time. He really honors our veterans. He honors me for my service. Donald Trump didn't lie about serving in the military. He didn't say that he went to Vietnam when he didn't. This is the problem. I don't criticize anybody, whether they served our country or not. I think it's honorable to serve, but obviously a lot of people have reasons for not serving. I criticize somebody for embellishing their record, for lying, saying, I went to war. Dana, do you think that it's a problem that he said, I went to war, but he didn't actually? That seems to be a problem to me.
Well, they've corrected that. Let's move on to...
They've corrected it by admitting that he lied.
Let's move on to another important issue.
All righty. So a lot of veterans have issues with those who lie about their combat experience. Let's just keep it real. A lot do. Less than 8% of living Americans have served in the United States military at some point in their lives. And that's according to the VA. So we don't find it shameful that someone did not serve. I mean, again, we're talking less than 8% of the country has actually worn the uniform. That's not the issue. Now, if Trump was out here saying that he was a fighter pilot or he was an infantryman or he was a mortarman or someone that served on, some submarine, we definitely have a problem with that because it wouldn't be true. But that's not happening. There's really no hope for no one or anyone with this kind of TDS, man. And I love how she nervously tries to switch to another topic after Vance says that they've corrected it by admitting that basically they were lying, because that's what's actually happening. Maybe they thought that people wouldn't do any digging. The mainstream media certainly chose not to do so. And I also love how quick Dana was to point out that Trump never served. It's not a big deal. There's 92% of the country did not serve, but then says absolutely nothing about Biden, who also, or who they say, dodged the draft. She deflected from her own topic since the conversation was not going the direction that she was trying to take it. So then she dragged Trump in on it, and JD Vance stayed the course. And shout out to him for doing so. He did the right thing by bringing it back to Walt's lying. That should be the focus of this because it is a big deal. Keep the focus on Waltz and Kamala. But what's really frustrating here, in my opinion, is how the media is complicit in all of this. They're not just turning a blind eye. They're actively covering up or covering for Kamala and Waltz, pushing their narrative and trying to make us believe that these people are something that they're not. It's all one big act, a well-rehearsed performance designed to distract the American people from the fact that Kamala and her team have no real answers, no real policies that will work, and no real connection to the challenges of everyday Americans. And let's just keep it a buck. Kamala Harris is scared to death of facing real, unscripted questions. I would love to see her, do a town hall where she gets questions from the American people. I would love to see that. But we know that she won't. And that's why she's hiding behind teleprompters and avoiding the press at all costs. Think about it. It's been weeks now since she's been installed, not selected, installed as the Democratic nominee, and she hasn't done a single press conference, a single one-on-one interview. This just doesn't make sense, and I'm upset that the people are not outraged behind this. She finally said that she might do, keyword, might do some interviews before the end of the month. So at that point, it would be 6 weeks without a single interview or press conference since becoming the nominee. This makes absolutely no sense, man. Because the last thing Democrats want is for Kamala to handle tough, unscripted questions that she hasn't been coached on for weeks. Did you guys catch the part where Dana tried to trip him up with her question, asking if he honors Walt's service? I'm going to say it right here. Any person that does any time in the military, and especially those that, spent almost majority of their adult life serving this country, they deserve respect, whether that's the National Guard, whether it's the Army, Marine Corps. I know we razz each other up a little bit based off the service, but I have a lot of respect for anybody that has worn this uniform and dedicate their life for whatever time period that was. Some 3 years, others 5 years, 4 years, some people 10, some 20, some have 25, 30 years under their belt. I have a lot of respect for them. But JD's criticism was never about the service record. No one's criticism about Waltz is about his service record. It's about the fact that he was lying about his combat experience. Everyone respect Tim Waltz's service record. Heck, like I said, I have a lot of respect for my fellow Americans who have worn the uniform. But again, that's not what JD was talking about. Waltz has lied repeatedly, and it's absurd for Democrats to just brush it off as simple misspeak. It's a case of stolen valor, plain and simple. And veterans are understandably furious about it. But instead of siding with the veterans who are rightfully upset, Dana Bash tried to spin it in a way that made it seem like most veterans support Waltz and what he did and are okay with the fact that this dude said that he was out there holding rifles in combat zones. She probably read a quote or a single quote from a veteran defending him and then conveniently ignored all the other veterans who've come forward to call out his lies. It's just another example, man. It's really just another example of the media playing defense for the Democrats. If a Republican were caught in a similar situation, you can bet the farm they wouldn't let this thing go. They would not be quick to let it go. They wouldn't. They wouldn't accept he misspoke as an excuse. They would still be talking about it. It'd probably be on every 24/7 news cycle. Every show would have a conversation around it. JD Vance, in my opinion, he did a fantastic job of not only clarifying the real issues, but also calling out the media for their bias framing. When Bash tried to cover for Waltz by saying that, he retired before deployment was announced, JD didn't back down. He wouldn't let her slide. He pointed out that Waltz knew the deployment was coming and decided to quit anyway. These people aren't journalists, man. They are Democratic operatives. And this was a masterclass in how to handle the media. This is exactly the kind of interview that Kamala Harris is avoiding at all costs. But let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. Consider joining the ARP family. It supports me, the team, the channel. It gives us the ability to produce this type of content on a day-to-day basis. God bless each person that has joined the ARP family thus far. I appreciate each and every one of you all. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up. And I'm going to catch up with you all next time. Peace.